Welcome back to the Blissful Badger. In previous videos, I've talked about how I have a whole lot of old Biovores and Pyrovores, and how with the new kit, they need rebasing onto their new size. Well, since these models are smaller than the new model, and I wanted to make sure I had the right scale on all of my converted bases, I asked a friend at the game shop if I could borrow one of his. So now I have a reference model, and I can build these guys to be the same height, because they are still quite small overall, but if I can get them up a little bit, or, get the height, So if I just took this, and I take an old Biovore, and place him on the base, he's not too far below the new height, but he does need to fill out the base a little bit, and I could give him a little bit of a downward slope or a little bit more of an upward slope just to change his pose a little bit. The Pyrovores fill the base a little bit better, but still not quite to the same standard. And they are a little bit taller. They're almost the right height, but I could probably do a little bit more of a slant there. So now that I have reference, I can actually use that as a reference. A reference as a reference. Go figure. So yeah, now I just need to build my bases up a little bit. And to do that, I picked up some of these cork tiles at a thrift store. So I have a decent 1/4 inch thick wide piece and a thinner, very dense, packed, smaller detail. And so those should be easily used to build up a little bit of a variation for these models. Alright, I've made the 9 bases I need. I've left the models off for now, because the next step is some spackling. This way I can smooth out some of the edges, and I can make things a little bit more consistent. There's a lot of little cave systems and stuff that I can fill in a little bit. And since I use a texture paste and then a wash for these, I need to do this before I put that down, or else I'm going to use way too much of it. And then there's always the step where I have to paint the models, because I guess that's part of getting models painted, yeah? It's always a nice feeling to have more models painted. Now I just need to finish off the bases. Alright, and then we'll have 10 more finished Tyranids. Alright, time for some mud I did just realize that I have not done my gloss coat on the black yet for the claws and hooves and such, but I guess when I do the rims of the bases I can also do that. So I'll do the wash and then that and then glue them together. When trying to get three-dimensional bases attached to models that may or may not be flat anymore, it takes a little bit of effort, and I forgot which ones I made for each of these, so there's a little bit of a step up on some of these, so I have to go back through with the mud and re-add that and reapply the wash to make it look like they're actually stepping in instead of floating a quarter-inch off of the base. So I thought I was done, but I have a little bit more work to do, and I will remember that for future builds. At least I won't have to rebase these again, right? So one thing about hobbies is, well, in being creative, is sometimes if something doesn't work out right, just keep going. These models don't actually need to be finished until you say they're finished. So I had to add a little bit more sand texture to make them all stand properly on the bases. And once it's dry, I have to do another wash over it to mix it up with the rest of the basing. But overall, they're glued down. The texture looks good now. I've buried their feet enough into it to make it look like they're doing what they need to do. That has a little bit of a hole there, but whatever. And they're gonna be okay. I mean, it's been 2.5 years since the basing size changed, and I've had them in my collection for even longer than that. And so I can finally have some finished models. So I will get back with you when they are completed for some final shots. And there we have it. 10 more Tyranids added to my collection. Models that I've had in there for many, many years. 2.5 years ago, they changed the sculpts from the Pyrovores and Biovores, and I've had these since way before that, and I finally have them done. It's still crazy to think that the base sizes have gone this large when some of these used to be on 40s and 50s. But they're all on the proper size bases now, so at least I'll be able to play them going forward, right? Some projects just take a while to get done, but here we are with 6 Biovores, 3 Pyrovores, and a Death Leaper. So, yeah, this was a good project, and I still can't believe I started this back in July. And now, it's now February 1st. Yeah, so it took a while, to get these guys actually done, all of the rebasing and everything. But here we are, they're done. One more project completed. Subscribe if you haven't so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.